Hey guys, Formula Drift technical rulebook for 2020 is 39 pages long. I have page 22 right here. Anything in red would be stuff that has changed for that given year. So we're in 2020, so for 2020 red, I need to update if it applies to my car. Like every year there will be a couple rule changes as the sport evolves and new rules come because it's a growing sport. And right now we have about 5 or 6 rules that are changing. All of the rules in the rule book are very important, but I'm going to focus on the ones that apply to me for my car that I'm going to have to make changes to make it legal for this season. This one that I'm going to currently work on right now that has this little electrical connector, that's a Deutsch DTM 04-4P, which means it's a female 4-pin and it's the small DTM, so it's a mini. The DTM stands for Deutsch Terminal Mini. Down in here I have some of the wires that they're asking for, and I can kind of splice in there. Minimal modifications to my current chassis harness. What they're looking for is CAN high and CAN low, which are the 2 wires that, between those 2 wires, it can read anything and everything information wise coming out of your ECU or going. Some ECUs can communicate in and out through CAN bus high and low. So we're gonna, on this 4-pin connector, we're gonna have CAN high and low, and we're gonna have 12 volt and ground. So down here is where Kevin from Formula Drift, Kevin Wells, would like to have it somewhere in this vicinity, like right here. So he can like open your door, tap into that, put the monitoring system in there, so now he can monitor what our ECU is doing and also monitor G-forces and other stuff that the car is doing, and so he has some data for himself. So I am going to tap into these and then double up on some of these wires here, then plug them back into their existing places so everything else is still kosher how it was, but then I'll still have extra wires coming up and over down to here, and I'll probably zip tie with a little flying lead of not flying lead, but a little lead of maybe like 8 inches, so whatever box he's trying to work with, he can get it in there and have room to put it. So now I've explained that to you guys. I kind of have this setup. I started with some twisted pair for the CAN high and low, and then I have some 20 gauge for power and ground, some Tefsel wiring, and then I've covered it in some RADGEN. I haven't shrunk it yet, and I haven't put any SCL on the ends of it yet, but we'll make it look nice and pretty like the rest of the chassis harness. But what you're wondering is what other rules are changing, why are they changing them? You don't always know why they're changing them. You can ask Kevin why. In this case, he wants to monitor data, and he wants to monitor what people's ECUs are doing in case he thinks certain teams are cheating possibly, and if he doesn't think that, he just wants to know because it's getting more technical and he wants to have the information that the teams are having. He's not going to share it with other teams, but he's going to have it for judging purposes. Okay, that's that topic with the little Deutsch connector that we're talking about. Some of the other rules, I'll just run them off real quick. One of the other rules is an SFI bell housing. So if you explode your clutch, you don't cut the legs off of the driver, or if there happens to be a passenger, that doesn't there's nothing. He's trying to get ahead of some horrible injury that could happen or whatever before it happens. So that's that one. The SFI bell housing is a new rule for this year. Also, we used to keep, some people would keep their nitrous bottle here on the floor here, or the cool shirt little like ice chest box with a pump in it. That is no longer allowed to be on the passenger footwell. So we're gonna move that to the back of the car in our case. I already had the nitrous over here, so I was fine. So that's floorboard, SFI bell housing. Oh, another thing was you need to have an SFI shift boot if you have a shifter. There's no shifter here or boot, it's just a metal plate, so I'm good to go on that. So we used to have our kill switch over here. It was part of the rule book. You need to have it on the passenger side of the car. Now he wants it on the driver's side of the car. So the kill switch wiring, I'm just gonna move over there, like run an extension over there and just change where I have the button on my cowl. So that would be one of the most simple out of the things to change. The more difficult ones would be the SFI bell housing. I already have a solution for that for my current transmission setup for JZ. Luckily, QuickTime makes JZ bell housing, so it just bolts to the JZ motor side of things. They have two actually, one for a T56, one for a like Muncie or GSR Andrews box pattern. They don't have it for a Samsonus. They said they could custom make it, but that entails like sending them a bunch of stuff. I had already made an adapter plate previously to this for the Samsonus to bolt very effortlessly to a J3 bell housing and set up for the ACT triple disc clutch I like to run. So me and Brett Collins over at Collins Adapter have a plan going. We're gonna make an adapter to work with one of those SFI bell housings, so they still use the same exact input shaft, same exact Tilton hydraulic release bearing, and it'll just kind of be like a bolt-in solution. I'll even use the same transmission mount, but I'll be within tech like regulations with the SFI bell housing, so that's pretty cool. The other little things, I'm gonna make sure I pass tech and change my car accordingly. Just thought I'd share that with you guys. A little bit of information. It's always cool to learn a little bit of new stuff and why. So I'm gonna get to work on wiring in this Deutsch connector and catch up with you guys in a bit. Alright guys, it's getting late. Look at what I wrote on here. FD Tech. So this is what Kevin needs. He can plug into that, monitor my car. I got this all blown out right now. So this goes to the PDM 30 in my car, and I needed to find, so when I wired this, I wired a lot of extra wires. Came back here and I was ringing it out on the multimeter, making sure, you know, I had the right wire, and I found this wire, and I have another extra over there, that wire, and I figured the closest and smallest of the wires, so I'm not using too large of a gauge. It is too large for what I'm doing, but it's what I had extra back here, so too big is fine. If it was too small, that wouldn't work, but this thing doesn't draw much amperage at all. Look at how small this gauge wire is, and it's not even high grade wiring on here. It's not Tefcel wire. We could have gone with as small as like probably a 20 gauge, but if it was Tefcel. Anyways, we got a big fat wire back here that's I think 14 gauge, might be 16. It's ran through this bulkhead, which is very convenient, and the wires run right up to here, and my spare one is right here. So now the old wire that went to the cool suit, which is this wire in here, I need to look through my notes from last year, cut that wire out so it's not any longer gonna get power at that connector I just was showing you, but then this connector will get power, so we can mount the cool suit in the back of the car. Pretty odd, but we're gonna mount it centered back here like this. That'll be one of the, we'll be within regular rules for this year's whatever tech inspection. Otherwise I was gonna have to put it behind my seat. There's no way I'm getting in and out of like that box. It needs to come in and out, and or I would need to have a way to fill it and drain it. And no, it wouldn't have been good. So now it's just gonna sit there right behind a radiator, melt the ice even quicker, and it's gonna raise the center of gravity up a little bit. Couple things that are annoying, but that's just how it'll go. Because the cool suit is like a lifesaver when you're in a hot race car. I've also extended my wiring for my kill switch, so now my kill can be over here. So did a little bit of wiring tonight, made it look clean like the rest of the wires in here. Let's see, don't think I have many other wiring things I'll have to do. Oh, I do need to finish that part and by the PDM tomorrow, and then I'll double check my work, and then we're good to go. And then I need to change my notes so that we know what's actually on the output of the PDM and what has been removed. So update your notes is always good in case something happens at the racetrack, you can fix it. Joe was working on rear bash bars. Since we go through rear bash bars kind of a lot in a drift car, he finally made a jig for it, a little fixture where he can replicate it in case maybe we need 2 or 3 when we're on the road, you know, out of state, and he can't copy the current one that he had. So that's where we're at. We're gonna keep pressing on and do more work tomorrow on the car. I'm gonna go home because I gotta be back here early in the morning. All right guys, see you later. All right guys, I want to touch on some of those tech rules, the safety changes for this season. One of them was that little plug over there. We talked about that already. Second one was the extension and moving of this over to this side of the cowl to the driver's side. I don't want to finalize this, but I need to powder coat this. It's a weird shape. It's got 5 holes in it. 4 of the holes are through bolted to just with washers underneath. It'll hold this panel in place. You gotta line it up all parallel. It's a weird shape so that it can like kind of line up with these edges, like this one, this one, this one, and that one, and not look too off. Kind of goes like that. I'll get it powder coated satin black over at MB Powder Coating, but this is a little momentary button that goes in there, and you guys get the point. That'll go there on the cowl. And those are 2 things that are completed. The reason the wiring's exposed like that is because it has to fit through the hole in the plug on the back. The Deutsch connector is bigger than that. Extended wiring to kill switch. So everything for those 2 items are complete. If you're also noticing this cool setup here, this did happen over the weekend. It's plumbed and all dialed in, everything is done, the masters are in. Only thing I haven't done is bled the brakes and set up the pressure feel and the bias amount, which probably needs to get adjusted a little bit with driving. So still get to lay upside down and adjust those probably. But other than that, those are 2 tech things that have been completed. I still have 2 or 3 other things to pass tech for this year, so I will do multiple part video. In this video we talked a little bit about those 2, and then we did both of them. Next up, you're probably gonna see the cool suit get relocated and plumbed, so that'll pass tech. And then lastly, but definitely not least, you're gonna see the SFI bell housing and the new adapter that Collins and I put together for Samsonus. So all you guys that have a Samsonus that want that, you can now buy that from either Collins or myself. So that's kind of progress of things. All right guys, talk to you soon. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later.